Have you ever heard the story that King Sejong created Hangul, the Korean alphabet, but it was rarely used for centuries? Until the late 19th century? If you learned it that way in history class, it actually couldn't be further from the truth. Historical records and artifacts clearly show that right after its creation, Hangul was widely and deeply integrated into everyday life, across all social classes in Joseon society. Today, let's dive into the fascinating story of how Hangul was actually used, and how it truly empowered ordinary people in everyday life, law, and economics. Created by King Sejong in 1443 and promulgated in 1446, Hangul was far from being just an unofficial script. From royal proclamations and legal petitions to commercial publishing, practical medical guides, and personal letters between different social classes, Hangul served as a vital language of daily life. It was a tool for democratizing knowledge, securing legal rights, and driving a booming popular culture industry. First, let's look at real-life examples through historical letters and documents. Hangul allowed people to transcend class and social status. A famous example from the 16th century is one's mother's letter, discovered in an ancient tomb, written by a grieving wife to her late husband, who passed away at 31. It proves that Hangul was deeply rooted in everyday domestic life. In the letter, she wrote, "You always told me we would live together until our hair turned white, and die on the same day. How could you leave me behind and go first?" Her heartfelt words, written in natural spoken language, without rigid classical formulas, demonstrate a high level of literacy among ordinary households at the time. The royal family also actively used Hangul. Kings and queens wrote personal letters in Hangul to their children and relatives, leaving behind a rich collection of royal court documents. Even commoners and enslaved people used Hangul to communicate. Letters written by enslaved individuals in the 15th century prove that literacy extended far beyond noblewomen to the lowest social classes for managing daily affairs and sending personal regards. Hangul was also used to keep vital historical and court records. Memoirs like Hanjungnak, written by Lady Hyekyong, recorded severe royal political conflicts in vivid detail. Diaries kept by court maids recorded major political trials and palace events, while everyday women recorded their survival stories during wars, capturing real human history that official court chronicles often missed. Furthermore, the government led major translation projects. Religious texts, essential medical books like Donggi, Bogum, and emergency first aid guides were translated into Hangul, so ordinary people could use them for healthcare. The world's first Korean cookbook, Eomsik Dimibong, written in 1670, and household encyclopedias, were also written in Hangul to pass down practical knowledge within families. Second, Hangul played a crucial role in governance, public administration, and protecting civil rights. In 1593, during the Japanese invasion of Korea, King Sejong's descendant, King Sejong, issued an official royal proclamation, written entirely in Hangul, to ensure every citizen understood his message. The king used Hangul to promise that anyone regardless of social rank, even enslaved individuals who fought for the country or returned safely, would be rewarded and granted freedom, because it was written in Hangul. This proclamation could be mass-produced via woodblock printing and posted nationwide so that soldiers, commoners, and slaves could read it directly. In legal administration, Hangul functioned much like a modern civil petition system in the United States. When ordinary citizens, women, or slaves faced unfair treatment, property disputes, or unlawful punishment, they wrote legal petitions in Hangul and submitted them to local courts. The legal process worked like this. First, a citizen submitted a legal petition written in Hangul. Second, court clerks reviewed the document and translated it into official legal classical script. Third, the court conducted trials and issued rulings based on the translated document. Finally, the court communicated the final judgment back to the citizen in plain Hangul or spoken language, so they could fully understand their legal outcome. When local officials were corrupt, citizens even posted anonymous Hangul posters on public walls similar to whistleblowing or public grievance notices, which often triggered royal inspections and led to the dismissal of corrupt governors. Third, in the late 18th and 19th centuries, Hangul drove a massive commercial publishing economy. Hangul became the center of a thriving commercial publishing industry. Much like popular paperbacks and mass-market publishing today, private publishers created woodblock prints of popular Korean novels, called Banggakbon. Major publishing hubs emerged in key cities, mass-producing books at affordable prices. Because mass production lowered costs, a book cost about the same as a small portion of rice, making novels affordable for ordinary working-class citizens. This gave birth to commercial book rental shops, called Sejong. People paid a small deposit and rental fee to borrow popular novels. Margins of these surviving rental books are filled with humorous reader scribbles, like, "I can't wait for the next volume," or, "The rental fee is too high." There were even professional street storytellers called Jungisu. They read Hangul novels aloud at public marketplaces with dramatic voice acting. At the most suspenseful climax of a story, they would dramatically pause, a clever commercial technique to encourage the crowd to throw coins before continuing the story. Fourth, why was Hangul so practically useful for ordinary people? First, it is incredibly easy to learn. Unlike complex logographic systems with thousands of characters to memorize, Hangul is a scientific phonetic alphabet with a direct, one-to-one match between sounds and letters. As recorded in its original 1446 manual, a wise person can learn it in a single morning, and even a simple person can learn it in 10 days. Second, it gave a voice to marginalized groups. In a strict feudal hierarchy, Hangul was the only tool that allowed women, children, commoners, and slaves to document their thoughts, feelings, and legal grievances. Third, it broke the monopoly on knowledge. By translating agricultural manuals, law guides, and medical books into Hangul, practical knowledge spread rapidly to the general public. To summarize the shift, official classical writing was reserved for male elites, rigid government records, and maintaining social hierarchy. In contrast, Hangul was an inclusive, practical, and dynamic medium used by all social classes for personal letters, popular literature, legal petitions, and commercial publishing. Far from being a forgotten script, Hangul was a living language that empowered people, protected their rights, and shaped popular culture throughout history. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching.